The right to offend is not some pesky little part of freedom of speech that we have to put up with. It is the heart and soul and lungs of freedom of speech. It is the coursing lifeblood of human progress. It is the instigator of liberty and modernity and science and understanding. What a laughing stock today's student leaders are, that they can so casually dismiss the right to be offensive without realizing that their lovely, enlightened lives are the gift of individuals who gave offense. Offensiveness is not just something we have to begrudgingly accept. Offensiveness is the motor of human progress.
Now broadcasting from the Right to Offend Media Studios in sunny South Florida, bringing you the latest in politics, current events, art, and pop culture. This is the Whitfield Report Live with Sam Whitfield.
But giving offense is good. In fact, it's essential.
And a good Monday morning / afternoon, whenever you're listening to this in the past, present, future hour. Welcome to the Whitfield Report. I'm your host, Sam Whitfield, back here with Jake Widmer, who is quickly becoming one of the MVP guests. Right up there with Eric P. Bishop. I actually think that Jake is tied with almost tied with Eric for appearances on the show as far as authors go. And we're recording this kind of at the end of May, but by the time you guys are listening to this, I believe it'll be June. So, Jake, happy, I guess, men's... Well, we're in Men's Adventure Fiction May, but it'll be
Yeah.
I guess we'll be in Jake Widmer June soon. So, welcome back to the show, my friend. How you doing?
Good, man. I'm doing good. Thanks for having me on again.
No problem. So, congratulations on the release of Cartel Crossfire. That's it was fun to be a beta reader for that, and you've got an ambitious roadmap planned out. So, I guess just kind of diving into it, what can you tell us about what's going on in the world of Chris Folley?
Yeah, but thank you again for being a beta reader for Cartel Crossfire. Thanks again for the blurb. I appreciate that. But yeah, I did a doubleheader this month for Men's Adventure Fiction May for it. It's let me get them here. I released Cartel Crossfire and Yinzer and Philly at the same time. This is the short story that doesn't, it's a standalone, but all my short stories continue on into the main story. But that was very exciting and a challenge to get them both done, edited, formatted, get the covers done in time to get them out. It's been a pretty positive. It's probably been one of my best months for those. But starting probably with my anthology collection, The Folley Files, I've been leading to my ensemble book where all my characters are going to come together in something I'm calling a Merc War right now. And it is, there's the main antagonist in the series right now is this other Millwater Solutions, which is a private security firm going up against Chris Folley and his group from Lock and Key Security, which is their firm. And it's gotten to the point where if you've read Cartel Crossfire, you know it's no longer just bickering. It's bullets are flying, bodies are dropping. But yeah, Merc War is going to be my, I don't want to say Avengers level because it's not that big, but it's all leading up to that.
Right.
But before Merc War, though, and if you've read Cartel Crossfire, you know there's something going on during the same time. And that's going to be what's going to be coming out, hopefully, in June or late June, and that's Steel City Vengeance, which is a full Chris Folley thriller. Takes place in my hometown of Pittsburgh. I love how the cover came out with the 4-pit bridge and everything on it. I mean, people can say a lot about AI, but for somebody like me, I love when it hits it out of the park.
Yeah, well, I mean, so you and I are kind of similar in that vein. We, I I feel like I are, and I feel like, I mean, you've seen my, you know, comments in the Men's Adventure Fiction Discord. I feel like, people always kind of misunderstand my position on AI because, the way I view AI and the way a lot of other, like, I guess, pro AI people that I know view it, like, I totally get the argument that, like, you shouldn't let your AI, like, do, like, writing or creativity for you, but, like, I view AI as more of, like, a tool in my toolbox rather
Hmm.
than, like, some, Terminator-esque, like,
Yeah.
super omnipotent thing. And, like, at least for, like, my cover, style, which was, like, more of, like, the pulpy, stuff, like, the sad thing is, like, a lot of, like, a lot like, a lot of the artists who, I guess, like, draw or, I guess, paint in the style I'm going for, they're either all, like, in their 80s and not really, like, they're all retired or, like, sadly, a lot of them have passed on.
Hmm.
So, like, there really isn't anyone in, like, my art style who's, like, really active, anymore, so it's like AI kind of, is the way to go, and I mean, Dolly, which is GTP's, AI generator, does, like,
Hmm.
the best kind of mock-ups, and, I mean, like, I don't know what you use to, like I don't know which one you use to do the cover, but, like, man, that's, like that cover is beautiful, especially with, like, the glossy finish too,
Yeah,
so
I forget which ones because my one buddy Noah Kinnear from BCU Media, got to plug the crew. Um, I forget which one we used because we made the Yinzer and Cartel cover in his house, but because we couldn't find time to get over, and I was just trying to get ideas using Gemini, I think is the one that I use for this. And I know people are saying AI is extremely smart. It took me 30 tries to get this down the way I liked it because they kept like giving Foley like didn't look anything like how he looks in the book. They kept like adding stuff I didn't want. But yeah, I used Gemini for this, and after 30 tries, I think it turned out pretty damn good. So
yeah, well, the thing of it is, like, so the whole misconception that, like, AI either writes stuff for you
mhm.
or, draws exactly like, when people say, "Oh, you just had AI write your story," it's like, well, no. I had to be, like, I basically had to, like, basically, copy and paste, like, my rough draft, and then it basically edited, like, all of, like, the, you know,
Mhm.
uh basically all I use it for is, like, edit grammar and,
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
change the, like, I write all my stuff in first person kind
Mhm.
of, but, like, I want in third person. That's basically all GTP does, and then, like, even, like, sometimes it'll, like, bring back characters who, like, I've already killed off in, like, other stories too, so, like,
Mhm.
it's like trying to, like, train a dog, basically. You have to,
Yeah.
like, constantly keep,
Yeah.
prompting it and reminding it,
Yeah,
so,
and I like it too because it allows us to get like our to get scenes that we couldn't possibly do like doing a photo like for my second book Killing Evil. This is the last time we had real people. I had my buddy Mark and my friend Sam be on the cover of it, and the background is AI generated. We just took a photo of them on a green screen. But I do like this is one of my favorites that I wrote. It's one of the most popular ones. But I
yeah.
still like think we got what we wanted. It's exactly what we wanted for the cover, but at the same time, it's still I don't know. It's still a good book in my opinion, but I think the cover could be better. And the first one I used AI for, Ian Noah used AI for, was the first novella Odd Job. And I think this was like the hit where Noah and I were like, we got to keep it this way. This is the way we got to do it from now on.
Yeah. Um, well, I mean, it's certainly, like, like I said, it's a tool, and it's getting like more and more adapted into like the business side of things.
Yeah.
So why not, like, as creatives, like why are we not using it to the full extent of if businesses are
Yeah.
using
Yeah.
it in the corporate world. But
Yeah.
speaking of business, so you've got your series like set in the private security world, which I've always found to be pretty unique, because most writers in our genre, they tend to be like very military focused, or and then like later on people go into the private security world. But like, what, I guess, drew you to write in the kind of private security world in general? That's pretty unique.
Yeah, thank you. Chris Folley never really like. I don't have a big character Bible. I really don't have a lot. Like with the Merc War arc going on right now, this is the most like pre-planning I've done. But starting with like in Homecoming, the first book, and again the background's all AI. That's why the moon's huge. But that's Mark right there. But the PMC world doesn't come about until my third book, The Real Monster, because I wanted to introduce Chris's old army team, which is the Youngbloods, and they have their own stuff going on too in the universe. And instead of them just being other vigilantes like him, I had like one of them started their own private security company. It was very successful, and that's how they got roped into it. I think it's a world. It's a very interesting world. It has its ups and downs like everything else. There's been like bad press, like with Blackwater and that type of stuff. But I
Yeah.
think it also gives a little bit more of like an edge to the characters, because some of the stuff like that you read Cartel Crossfire, some of the stuff that like the Youngbloods do in that, they wouldn't be able to like have the backing to do if they didn't have this company helping them out at the same time.
Yeah. Well, kind of the way that you're setting things up for more Merc Wars, I kind of find it cool. I don't want to put ideas into your head, but like from my perspective, it almost kind of seems like you're setting up like kind of like the military-esque version of like Game of Thrones, perhaps, where you're getting like all these private military contractors to like go to war with each other. And like, eh, that's something that, like, I guess is common in like the cyberpunk genre a lot of the time, especially like literally with Cyberpunk 2077.
Mm-hmm.
But like in our world, I do kind of find that that's interesting, that they're all kind of, and obviously you're exaggerating it a little bit for you
Yeah.
know
Yeah,
fictional
yeah, 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 for sure.
perspective.
Like
But
this is borderline fantasy compared to like what the real operators do.
yeah.
But yeah.
um as far as like, I know that you've talked to Zach, Zach James a bit, as have I. um have you talked to like anyone else in the private security field, or like what is kind of your uh research process for this, or if any, or do you just wing it?
I honestly, I'm winging it. Honestly, it like the job they get in Cartel Crossfire is kind of like an under the table thing, and even though
Yeah.
like Lock and Key doesn't want to get any bad press, there's a demand for operators in the world of Chris Foley, and they're gonna jump on it.
Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, like you said, I did do like enough research, but like I'm basically winging it at this point.
Yeah, I mean, like, one of kind of my gripes with people is I always get people who are like, oh well, this isn't super accurate. The FBI wouldn't actually do this, and that,
Hmm.
or something, like when I write about the FBI. And it's like, yeah, I mean, I get it, but like at the same time, like, you kind of have to suspend your disbelief a little
Yep.
bit,
Hmm.
because if you don't, if you try and write things like super, accurately, then all all John Ryder's going to be doing, like, you know, in my universe, for example, if I were to write him super realistic, would be he would just be filing like paperwork all the
Yeah.
time and like doing, you know, office work like all the
Yeah,
time.
and the
Which,
Youngbloods would just be guarding some rich movie star, essentially, kinda.
yeah. So, you know, or, you know, going to like, you know, make coffee runs or something,
Yeah,
you know.
yeah. Yeah, and it does. The thing is too. It's like being able to wing it. I'm able, and also like the world I've established since my first book, Homecoming, is the world is in a shitty place. Like war is catching around the world like wildfire, and people like the members of Lock and Key Security and Millwater Solutions, they're always competing against who gets this bid, who gets that bid. I want to get involved in this war. We're not getting involved in that war too. So it
Yeah.
adds winging it allows me to mix in my own kind of like lore with the modern world too.
Yeah, and it's always interesting too because like you know, I don't focus like too much on you know, like the modern
Hmm.
I try not to focus like too much on like current events and up to date um stuff in the real world, but at the same time it's kind of like impossible to, you know, avoid that stuff too in like the political thriller
Hmm.
genre, um yeah, like my characters might not be directly involved in like the
Hmm.
Ukraine war or like you know, or like the Israel Palestine
Yeah.
conflict, but
Yeah.
at the same time, like one of John Ryder's like exes is like a Mossad, you know,
Hmm.
assassin, so it's kind
Yeah.
of it's impossible for me not to write her, you know, her
Yeah.
perspective, you know, on the conflict, which is actually, you know, based off of like my actual friend who lives in Israel,
Yeah.
and that's always kind of interesting to, you know, include as well.
Yeah, Ukraine and the Israel Palestine conflict are like I guess they're canon with the Chris Folley universe, and they are mentioned, but like none of the characters are really like they have their own stuff going on. It's mentioned just to like give a sense of how the world is, kind of. But I always try
Yeah.
to focus on there might be a sly remark here or there, but it's always focusing on like the plot of my book while like that stuff's going on in the background.
Well, like what's funny is so like John Ryder has met with like I guess in my books like he's kind of met with like the I guess the Vladimir Putin equivalent in my
Hmm.
book, but he's basically said like, hey, like I'm not, you know, like yeah, I kind of like realize I have to like ally with you to kind of get to like one of the, you know, guys in the fourth estate, but like at the same time, like I'm not gonna be like taking sides in,
Yeah.
you know, with
Yeah.
you in the Ukraine. And
Yeah.
then on the flip side, like, you know, the Ukrainians come with him and he's like, well, I'm, you know, I don't really like either of you guys, so, you
Yeah.
know,
Yeah. Yeah, that's
have
kind of the mindset Foley has with a bunch of the other stuff going on. He's like, is it affecting me right now? No? Okay, I don't care.
well, and it's like one of the things that kind of, I guess, like actually is a thing from what I've heard is like uh after like so after Vince Flynn passed, uh like the basically Simon and Schuster, and I'm not trying to throw any shade, you know, towards them. I understand it's like a marketing ploy, but when um when they started to get other authors to like write the Mitch Rapp series, they would always have like, well, we're gonna have Mitch Rapp take on like ISIS, you know, and like and basically in the book they would have like, you know, Mitch Rapp take basically like single-handedly like take out ISIS, and it's like,
Yeah.
well that's a cool like, you know, that's a cool fantasy perhaps, but like in the real world like it's gonna take more than, you know, one guy to kill like the head of ISIS and then, you know, ISIS like falls apart. In the real like in the real world, like if like you know, I guess Al Qaeda were to fall apart, like maybe I would have like maybe I would like proactively write something in the real world that like I have it kind of in canon. Like one of John Ryder's like I guess mentors was like part of SEAL Team 6 that like took out Bin Laden. But, like that was I wrote that kind of proactively, right? Like,
Mm-hmm.
um, so it's always interesting like mixing in real world events with like fiction too.
Yeah,
So
yeah. I always like I said, like the way it is like it's always going to be like setting the tone for the world that the reader's stepping into. But have I had ideas of like originally having either Chris or one of the young bloods get over to Ukraine or down into Gaza? Yeah, I have. I just don't think it would have fit with where I want this series to go. And like you were talking about the like the one man thing too. Originally, when I like maybe when I was writing Homecoming, it was just gonna be Chris and maybe his best friend Kyle Grant doing these stuff. But then again, I realized to keep like readers interested, Chris can't be this ultimate one man army killing machine by himself. So that's why I've introduced the young bloods into the universe as well.
yeah. Well, and I mean also I mean, I don't know if you kind of have been dealing with this too, but like one of the things I've kind of been dealing with is like how like how many adventures do I want this character to go on, and like what is their eventual like I guess end going to be, and is it
Mm-hmm.
going to be like a good ending, or are they going to kind of give their life in in the line of fire? That's always something that like you know that's not something that like I focused like super heavily on, but like at the same time like I don't there are some book series where it's like such and such character has been around since like the 70s, in publication, and yet like they're still around, today, and yet like they haven't aged
Mm-hmm.
at all.
Yeah,
James
I've
Bond kind of being like the perfect example of that. So
yeah, I have thought about that a lot, and my whole mindset about it is I've already put a lot of blood, sweat, and tears into this universe, so I'm gonna keep writing it until either I get bored with it or I feel like this is it, like this is gonna be it. Merc War is not the end of it; it's gonna be the end of this current arc going on
yeah,
here. Because if you read my series, it's like Homecoming, Killing Evil, Odd Job. They're like the welcome party into it. And
yeah,
from Real Monster, Folly Wars, Cartel, and Steel City, that's and up to Merc War, it's gonna be like the PMC arc, kinda.
yeah. So you're kind of doing similar to what like I'm doing, where you're kind of packaging stories like in kind of like individual trilogies or quartets,
Hmm.
basically, right?
Yeah, I'm
So
trying to keep it all. Now, is everything gonna be like cross reference throughout the series? Absolutely, because so much is gonna happen. So much did happen in Cartel Crossfire. So much is gonna happen in Steel City Vengeance. And then Merc War is literally a war between the survivors of one company and a whole ass like multi-million-dollar company.
yeah,
So it's of course I'm not gonna like forget about it when the next arc starts, but it's still gonna be. I'm hoping that anybody can kind of jump into wherever they want, whenever they want.
yeah. Well, that's kind of the interesting thing that I found with like the Jason Miller book I wrote,
Hmm.
Night of the Vigilante, is that it's kind of it. So it's its own standalone book, but like it also does tie into the larger, like as I'm dubbing it, the writer
Hmm.
verse,
So I call mine the Follyverse too. So
right
there,
now.
yeah.
So uh, because like largely Jason Miller is like kind of like a side character in the writer verse, but Night of the Vigilante is kind of his origin story. And then like I've written a few like individual short stories,
Hmm.
for him, but like largely I'm going to, kind of have him and writer, going through kind of the same stuff in the books together.
Yeah.
Now, and you know, it's going to be interesting, you know, to see like where stuff like in real life with like the drug cartels and
Mm-hmm.
whatnot goes too.
Yeah.
So, and then one of the things that like I know you and I have talked about too is like things with like South Africa and whatnot, too, and that's going to be really interesting to see how like, you know, that whole thing plays out. So
It's like, yeah, it's gonna be interesting. I don't know if you want to talk about that now. I don't feel like I'm the person to talk about that, but yeah, it's gonna be very interesting to see how all that bullshit plays out.
well, I actually just did a show on that last week,
Okay.
about kind of how, I don't know if you saw the clip of basically Trump with you know, the South African uh president in
Yeah.
air
Oh yeah, I
quotes,
saw that. It
but
was fucking glorious.
what's funny about that is I actually kind of like wrote a scene kind of before that thing even happened. So this hasn't been released yet, but like I wrote a scene like for a story that isn't even going to be published for like probably another like it so I'm working on book number 4 of the John Ryder series, but
Mm-hmm.
I'm also writing book 5 too, and book
Nice.
5 is going to focus more on like South Africa.
Nice.
And I had not planned this, but like basically the president in book 5 is going to be like, yeah, you know, we're going to do something about South Africa, and I had this planned like, you know, out like a while, and then like Trump actually did it, and I'm like, this is kind of creepy.
Yeah, it's the same thing. We talked about this too, where that's almost like they're either giving us more material to write about, or somebody in charge of the world has to be reading our stuff because this stuff's just happening here too.
Well, I will say this. I do have a friend who works in the U.S. Government. My best friend actually, Luke, is an aide on the Hill, and he's you know, like, he's my best friend. I've known him since kindergarten, but he's also like been a huge supporter of all my work, which I'm
Mm-hmm.
extremely grateful for. Um, but like, yeah, he's told me that like he's told, you know, a few people about my work, and so I'm always kind of curious, you know, if his boss, you know, or someone else like is actually reading, you know, my book. Like I you know, like I don't know, like I honestly don't know too much of like any classified information, but like I'm always curious, like
Yeah.
if Tulsi Gabbard or something is like,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know, reading my work at all or something, because like, you know,
It's the same thing. Like somebody has to know, because like that incident I was telling you. I don't want to get into specifics about that woman who is she thinks she's well known in Pittsburgh, but nobody really knows. Remember it all? And she read Killing Evil, and she was like, the Pittsburgh elite would never be involved in crime like that. Yeah, sure. Yeah.
yeah, that's always you know, interesting too, when people get like really critical of your you know, work like that. You know, or like on the flip side, like when people uh you know, are like, wow, you know, this is really accurate. Like I got complimented like, wow, are you related to someone in the NYPD recently? I'm like, no. I'm like, no. Why? And they're like, because you write like cop characters really
Hmm.
really well.
Yeah.
Um, so
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. But like you said, like it's I don't have a like I said before, was the idea to throw Foley and the gang in the real world conflicts. Yeah, that was there, but will that probably happen in the future? Maybe, depending on what I feel like writing after Merc War, but that depends on it.
Yeah. Um. I mean, as far as like like one of the other things I'm kind of curious about is like you've released like a double header as you mentioned. So like, how does that feel to like be releasing like two Chris Folley books in a year?
It felt really, really good. My original plan was to just do Cartel Crossfire, and this thing in itself was probably the longest thing I've had to read. I've had to written because I know we talked about it. I think last time I was on here, but of course it's the one I forgot to grab. But my short story collection, Folly Files, the last one in that called New Blood is like whenever the young bloods get their own story. That was originally what this was supposed to be, but I felt it wasn't good enough. And I kind of like pushed Millwater Solutions in way too early, and I felt like because when I was writing this, I got into a whole different mindset where similar to like some I don't want to say complaints, but some thoughts people had about my stuff, like how I didn't like how you implied this opinion in the Folly. I didn't like how you wrote this. I got into the mindset where I'm not giving a fuck anymore about different people's opinions. It's my book, it's my world. I can write it however I want it when I want it. So I kind of sat down and rewrote a lot of this, and it probably has some of the most brutal action I've done yet in this. So
Yeah.
this was always the goal to get done, and so Cartel Crossfire was always going to be the goal to get it done. Then I forget what the prompt was. It was another prompt in the Discord, but I ended up writing essentially what would be the first two chapters of Yinzer and Philly. And I'm sitting down there and I'm looking at it and I start getting the idea in my head more and more. I'm like, screw it. I'll do another short story novella. So I pulled the good old Zach James technique and started going back and forth. Like I would do a chapter of this and then do a chapter of this, do a whole day of this, do a whole day of this. And then by the time I was done, I didn't think I was going to get the doubleheader done because Cartel Crossfire was finished first and I still had a little bit more of this to go. So I was just like, well, shit, I said doubleheader. But then by the time we got the covers done, formatted, it was both there. I'm like, screw it, release at the same time. It was a good experiment, and I think I succeeded. People have been liking them so far. But yeah, it was a rush trying to get these done in time to release them at the same time.
Yeah, it's funny that they're calling it the Zach James technique because I do the same thing too. That's actually mainly like how I write now, kind of like
Yeah,
as
yeah.
a standard
Zach,
practice.
Zach
Like,
got in my head and changed the way I write almost everything now because up until about just these two, I would only focus on the one thing. That's why I didn't do a lot of prompts for a while, and then I just cracked those two out.
well, so the thing with me is like I would always have the thing where like I would focus on like one project, right? And then like I would always get like super I don't want to say that I would get bored, but like what would happen is I would run into like a kind of like a wall
Mm-hmm.
with like a certain chapter and like, okay, what comes next, you know, now. And I would get so stuck on like trying to figure out that I just wouldn't write. And so now what I do is if I get like stuck on one project, I'll just go to another and
Mm-hmm.
I won't even think about that other project until like, you know, until I get that eureka moment,
Yeah.
or when I break through. So like what I'll do is like I have the so I have like the I have the John Ryder like kind of political thriller universe, but then I
Mm-hmm.
also have like I have the blood ties like mafia slash like police, cop
Yep.
thriller. And so like I will alternate between the two of those. And it's always interesting because um because I write in like I guess two different genres technically. It's always funny because like I have one audience like they love the John Ryder stuff, but they could care less about, the cop stuff. And then on the flip side, like I've got people who think that like I'm an awesome like police procedural writer, but
Hmm.
like they could care less about the John Ryder stuff, and it's kind of like, well, I'm flattered, but why can't you guys be like me in like both genres?
Yeah.
Because I grew up reading both genres, so it's always kind of funny with that too.
Yeah, and
So
like you said too, man, like every time I would get into a wall in Cartel, I would jump over to Yinzer, and the wall of Yinzer, jump back to Cartel. But yeah,
yeah.
it was a total blast, and I had you backing me up, I had Zach, Maverick, the whole Discord backing me up. So knowing you guys were in my corner when I did this was helpful a lot.
Well, I appreciate it. It's also like one of the things I will say about like I think the Discord and just kind of like the online writing community in general is like writing it's a very like unless you're writing with someone else kind of like as a co-author, it's very
It's a
I don't want to
solitary art.
it's a solitary art like people like it's not that I'm antisocial or anything. It's just like, some nights like I'm just I'm not going out to, bars to meet with
Yeah.
friends or anything. I'm at home like just writing, you know, on I'm just writing or I
Yeah,
do
dude,
that.
I 100% agree with that because I mean, I'm lucky that like my close friend group like knows and like respects that I do this. But like when I first started like with Homecoming, right? That was like the first time that I really like buckled down. No, it wasn't. It was Killing Evil. I really buckled down on taking certain days to get the chapters done. And at that time, my
Yeah.
work schedule, I was off Fridays. So I would wake up, go to the gym, and then come home and literally spend almost every waking minute working on Killing Evil. And like I'd have my phone off and I would open it up and they're just like, where are you? I'm like looking at my watch. It's already like 9 o'clock at night. And I'm like, oh, I'm not coming out. Sorry.
Well, yeah, I mean there's that. Well, and so, to kind of your point, though it is kind of like a very solitary activity, but at the same time, like I do feel humbled that like at the same time, like I have you and I have, people in the Discord and other authors like Eric Bishop who I can reach out to and be like, hey, can you take a look at this for me?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
even with like, Eric in particular is like he's great about the business side of things, like how do I market this? Or, what would you recommend like for like Instagram or
Mhm.
stuff like that like and that's the other thing is like I don't think people understand like there is the writing aspect but like I don't want to say that the writing part of it is easy but like that's the fun part of this, right? And same with podcasting whereas like producing the podcasting is fun, but like marketing it and getting out there and making sure people listen to it
Mhm.
or making sure that people are actually reading um my books or is always like that's actually kind of the more laborsome
Yeah.
part of it is like okay, the book's done, the book's out there. Now you got to make sure that people read it. So like that's why, like oftentimes like on my Instagram, like it's mostly like a wall of like book promo stuff, or
Mhm.
like, or same with like Facebook.
Yeah, that's
So
kind of what my page is slowly becoming now, is just trying to promote this stuff as much as possible, mixed in of like, I went here, and then it's right back to the regularly scheduled Follyverse stuff.
yeah, well, like I took a trip
Yep.
to New York City, and and that was fun. But like that's kind of the most active that I've been on Instagram,
Hmm.
for a while. Um, and then like with that too, like it's always interesting when you go to like visit places too. It's like I don't know if you've encountered this, like, but like I'll be somewhere, even here in Florida, and I'm like, man, this would be a good, this would be a good place to like set like a a fight or something like
All the time.
that.
All the time, man. It's a curse. All the time.
So, well, like one of the things that like I noticed, I even pointed this out to my mom, is like last time we were in New York City, we were just kind of walking around, and I'm like, like I know that people like the idea of like a car chase in New York City, but like
It's impossible.
honestly, honestly, it would be impossible because like traffic does not move, and especially
Mhm.
like now people, I don't know if you probably know this better than I do since you're kind of on the East Coast, but like uh in New York now, you will actually get fined if you excessively honk your horn. So
That's news to me. But yeah, the two
yeah,
times I've been in New York, I've hooked up with my cousins in New Jersey, and then they've driven me down. These people are insane driving driving around there, and then they come to Pittsburgh and they drive the same way. I'm like, you're gonna get us killed. Stop.
I have a I have a friend who he's like a few years younger than me, but he actually lives in New York City, and I'm like, how do you live
Yeah,
here? Like,
yeah.
and he's like, what do you mean? I'm like, how do you just like like get around or like do like how do you have a car? Like everyone I've seen here just like commutes
You just
via
walk.
the bus and everything, and so yeah, I'm like, and just like like for 6 pack of like Budweiser, which isn't even like that's not even a good beer. It's like $12. It's like $12 here will like get me like craft you know beer or something. It's like I could write entire scenes of just like John Ryder bitching out tourism or something
Hmm.
in Florida or something.
Yeah, and
So
like it's just and me and my buddies in BCU, whenever we go downtown or I'm with them and they want to take pictures and I'm just along with them, every time I'm looking around, it's like since my books take place in Pittsburgh, I'm thinking like, okay, this gunfight can happen here. This would be a good place to have like a street ambush happen. I'm like, I'm like, get out of my head, get out of my head. I'm trying to have
yeah,
fun.
do you ever, one thing I'm always curious is like uh do you ever like just have like scenes of like people of like Chris Folley like just doing like everyday shit
Yeah, I'm trying to
too?
like not exactly more Chris, more for like my character Kyle Grant, who's kind of a fan favorite. I just have a blast having like chapters of him like right before the shit hits the fan, just doing something normal, and then just throwing him into it.
Yeah, my cop character in the Blood Ties series, Mikey Russo. So so he's originally like an NYPD cop, right?
Hmm.
And then he moves to Florida, and but like I had a short story set where he goes back to where he has to go back to New York, and like I have him. There's a chapter that there's a scene I wrote in that short story where he's bitching like, man, there are way too many tourists in Manhattan now. Like this is bullshit. And I got messages from like my friends who live in New York like, dude, this is exactly how we feel. Like, oh, how did you know to write this? And I'm like, I just kind of guess that that's how
Hmm.
you guys would feel
Yep.
because that's kind of how I feel.
Yep.
And like, and I am a tourist, so
Yeah, like every time I go somewhere, I'm always touristy. But every time like I'm down in the Strip District in Pittsburgh, I'm just like, can these people just go away? Just get out of my way. I got places to be. Get out of my way.
yeah. Well, and I always and like when it comes to like locations and whatnot, like I always like to ask like locals where they, where they hang out
Hmm.
too. So
Oh yeah, see, like that's another reason why I set my stuff in Pittsburgh instead of like New York or made up my own places. Because in all honesty, I haven't seen a lot of this country. I've been to New York twice. I've been to Florida once. The farthest I've probably been has been in this country at least was Iowa, and then I've been to Toronto once, and I'm going back again in September for TIFF. But I know Pittsburgh a lot because me and my friend we all grew up here, so we've all been going downtown, hanging out, all the suburbs and
Yeah.
everything. It was just easier for me to like. Now, do people outside of Pittsburgh not know a lot of the references or lingo I use in this? Probably not. But it's also a fun way to market to Pittsburghers too. Like this is an action series for you guys, and sure, like Merc, like Cartel Crossfire, Merc War, they're not all going to be in Pittsburgh, but it's like the lingo, like Jagoff's almost every other page, kinda.
Yeah, I mean, I use the term jag off all the time
Yeah, it's great.
when I'm, you know, when I'm pissed at someone.
Yeah, it's great, man.
The funny thing too, I recently encountered this. So I'm originally from Colorado, but like I've lived my entire adult life in Florida, right? So my frame of reference for Colorado was like from like 13 years ago. And in this one Jason Miller short story that I wrote, like he goes back to he goes to Colorado on like a mission. And so I referenced something, and one of my friends is like, yeah, that location is not there anymore, dude. I'm like, what do you mean? And they're like, that store that you're referencing doesn't like exist in like 2025. And I'm like, damn, that's a bummer.
Yeah, I got it.
So,
That's kind of happened. I'm ashamed that I kind of messed this up. I had this plan because there's a mall in Western Pennsylvania called Century 3 Mall, and it was like the mall in this area for a long time. And due to like multiple reasons, poor clientele, that type of stuff, it went down. And for like literally decades, this husk of a mall was just standing there, and like everybody went in there. Like me and my friends went in a bunch of times. Like, yeah, come, you can come get me for that. I don't care. But not to spoil anything, but there's a scene in this that takes place in the dead mall of Century 3. And as I was riding it, I was driving to meet my mom where she works. I drive past that place. I'm like, oh, it just got demolished.
yeah. My my other favorite thing to do too is like have like my character Jason Miller, as you know, he's a former DEA agent. So it always weirds him out too, like when he goes to places and like sees that like marijuana is like legal. Because like his his first instinct is to like kind of like arrest someone or something, and
yeah.
then he's like, oh wait, I can't. It's legal here or something.
Yeah.
Or something like that. So, yeah. So, what do you think is like your biggest challenge? Because like I've noticed that you've grown a lot, but like with growth, there always comes like new challenges with writing. So, what do you kind of?
I would say it's a. Can I pick a couple?
Sure. Yeah.
I would say the first one is, since all of this is leading, like Steel City Vengeance, Cartel Crossfire, Folly Files, they're all leading up to Merc War. And the cast of characters is getting much bigger as these go on. It's trying to remember everybody and attempt to at least give them all at least one time to shine.
Yeah.
Because especially with the main characters too, like Folly, Vicky, Kyle, the Youngbloods, I'm trying to give everybody at least like one moment to shine. Because they're all badasses. We all know that by this point. But since this is like the big like Avengers thing, they all deserve at least one moment too. It can't all just be Folly.
Yeah, one of the things that it has kind of been a challenge for me too, kind of in that similar regard, is like, so when I first wrote the first John Ryder arc, like I already had the story arc like basically like all planned out in my head when I started the thing, right? So like I had like 10 years worth of ideas like in my head that I was just able to like put out there. Um, and like I would finish one book and like basically go on to the next, and it was seamless. It was kind of easy since I had like a roadmap kind of already like planned out. Well, now that that first arc is out there, it's kind of like, oh, okay, I don't have as many ideas like in the vault, so to speak, that I can pull from. So it's kind of like now I have to like write like new like brand new material,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
that's always interesting.
Yeah, another one is probably writing some of the more, because it's easy to say like, oh, Chris brought his rifle up and shot the guy, right? What I like to do is have, like, I try to make my gunfights as exciting as possible, but I also try to make whenever Chris gets in close to use either the tomahawk or something new that he gets in this, to be as exciting and as brutal as possible. And like writing the brutality is like fine, like saying the skull got smashed, but like the techniques that he does, I have to remember that like not everybody has done a martial arts class before, not everybody has trained combat sports. So trying to write it in a way that I don't want to, I guess like the people outside of that circle would understand is kind of a hassle for me.
Yeah, I mean, I get that. But like as someone who hasn't, you know, done like, like I've done like limited martial arts, but like as someone who's kind of like an outsider to that, I just, and again, this is like where Chat GPT, I guess, like helps with like writing action scenes. Is I'll give is like I said in my rough draft, like I'll kind of give it like a general like write up of like what I of like how I want the scene to go, and then like I'll have like insert like more technical like stuff for me, and it's kind of able to do that. So
Yeah. Yeah.
um
But those I would say are probably like the only challenges I have. Besides that, I'm just having a blast writing these.
yeah. Well, I mean, the fact that you're, putting out like 2 to 3, I mean, like you're almost kind of writing these stories. It kind of seems like in comic book kind of like timelines where I don't want to say you're coming out with these stories like monthly, but I mean, you've published 2 books.
Yeah, two
Uh,
books this month, and then Steel City Vengeance is hopefully going to be June, if not July.
so you've published like so by then you'll have published like 3 books this year.
Hmm.
That's good. I've only like I'm planning on writing like my total for this year for certain will be like 3, but like I published Night of the Vigilante in March. I'm gonna publish probably John Ryder book 4 in July, and then it's funny. I'll probably be publishing Blood Ties like in September or October. That one's interesting because when Blood Ties first came out, like nobody bought it really. And then I was kind of like, oh, okay, so I guess this was just like what like one time thing. It was kind of like, this was a fun experiment, but it didn't sell well. So, this will just be like a one off, right? Well, then what's funny is in January, uh, so like I released it in November of like last year and nobody bought it. So like I was kind of like, it I'm not gonna focus too much. Well then in January, like people started to buy Blood Ties.
Yeah.
And like I wasn't even promoting it that much at that time, but like people just started to like pick it up on Amazon. Terrence in particular,
Yeah.
Terrence like
Yeah.
you. And it was
Yeah.
like he was like, so when does volume 2 come out? And I'm like, and my mom had asked the
Now
same
you guys
question.
want it?
Yeah, it was kind of like, it was kind of like, oh, okay, now you guys want it. Where were you 2 months ago on
Yeah.
launch day? You
Yeah.
know, when I needed it. So I guess, yeah, that's gonna be like my kind of like my third. And again, the Blood Ties books are, you know, it's a short story compendium. So
Mhm.
like that's the other thing is like, I don't you, but like I've actually like I think I write better kind of in the short story format.
Mhm.
Um, but
Yeah,
like
it's the same thing. Like I think there's people want the shorter stuff more. That like don't get me wrong. Like I love that people buy the full installments, but like the Folly Files is like my third best selling book, and that's a collection of 5 novellas.
yeah, what's funny is like the short story collections are actually like longer as far as like page length
Yeah,
than the novellas, which is always kind of like that's like a weird inverse, right?
yeah,
Because even though they're shorter stories, like I think Blood Ties is actually like page length wise, like it's my longest work at like something like I think it's 275 pages
yeah.
total. Whereas like I think Night of the Vigilante, even though it's like one novella, I think it's like 270. I think it's like only I think it's only like one fifth. It's only like 150 pages
Mm.
long. So
Yeah, Folly Files
yeah,
is definitely one of the longest ones, but I think my longest one I think is Real Monster. I think this is right at 3. And this was another one where I know like nobody. This is Luke's favorite, right? And it's one of my favorites to write. It's kind of like my mix of Call of Duty and Appalachian horror. And people either liked it or they hated it. There's no in between. But this is Luke's favorite, so I consider it a success.
yeah. Well, that's kind of the same thing with like blood ties. Is like,
Mm-hmm.
you know, there, like I said, there are people who they the people who think of me as like a political thriller guy. They kind of, I don't want to say they hated that I did blood ties, but they're kind of like, why is Sam writing cop stories?
Yeah, yeah,
You know, all of a sudden.
yeah,
Meanwhile, like Terrence Hugh is like, this is the greatest thing that you've written, and
yeah,
so I'm like, well, then I guess I'm a police author now
yeah, yeah,
officially.
yeah,
So, um, yeah, um, and then it's funny because like I'm kind of the inverse where like you mentioned Luke Gossage, which by the way, happy belated birthday and big
yeah. Happy
shout out to
birthday,
him.
brother.
Like like I am like I love his current stuff that he's writing, but like I his first book, which is I oh shoot
Frozen
I can't
Wrath.
yeah Frozen Wrath.
Mm-hmm.
He hates that book because he thinks it's like too dark, and I'm like,
Like,
man,
dude, you nailed it. You nailed
I'm
it.
like that's actually my favorite
Yeah,
book.
my favorite one of his is probably a tie between Fire in the Tall Grass and Vipers and Red Rocks because I have been sitting across from this man even before Frozen Wrath was even out, hearing the story of Vipers and Red Rocks over and over and over again. And I'm just so happy he got that out. And that's probably the best tactical modern thriller he's done. I don't know if he's gonna touch back on those characters at all, but if he does, I'm there for it. So
So how long have you known him? That I'm
probably
actually
since I would say early 2023.
so So wait, his kid. So you've known him longer than his kids have been
I think
around
so. Yeah, I think so.
around then. Well, that's wild. Yeah, like I've known Eric. I've known Eric Bishop for his since like 2014.
Hmm.
So like when I knew him, like Eric's oldest son was I think like 7 or 8, and Eric's son actually just graduated high school. It's like it's wild. It's like wow, I've watched I've watched one of my friends' kids like grow up. So
Yeah.
um,
Luke reached out to me whenever because I was originally publishing Homecoming and then the sequels to Homecoming that shall not be named on a free kind of almost like a fanfic site because I wanted to get opinions of it. And Luke found an old promotional post for it on my Instagram account, and we started talking. I told him my other ideas, and he literally borderline almost started yelling at me in a coffee shop to just get these on. Like you know how Luke gets all when he gets motivated about it. He's
he
just like, you gotta do it.
he's like telling me to like he's like telling me to like write like the John Ryder like screenplays, and
Mhm.
I'm like, all right, I'll do it. The funny thing is like that's kind of how like the John Ryder series started when I was in college was like because I was taking a screenwriting class, and
Mhm.
so like I wrote the John Ryder series like for that first screenplay for Shadows of Deception, thinking it wasn't going to go anywhere, and then I repurposed that and turned that into the first novella, and he's like, you need to turn this into a movie, and I'm like, well, funny you mentioned that because like I actually have kind of like a half-assed screenplay
Mhm.
that I've written.
That's similar to how Homecoming came to be because um I've told you I'm not going to say the company, but I work for a bookstore. So I'm around thrillers all the time and I read a lot of them. And also with my friends in BCU, we always whenever we get together, we make something. It's we have a blast doing it. But since we're not in high school anymore, we all have our own jobs going on right now, so we don't have all the time in the world to film as much as we would like to. And we also like the stuff that I wanted to film wasn't realistic at the time. Writing it down was realistic at the time. So it's Homecoming is kind of what I wanted to read and also like the stuff I would want to film too.
Yeah. Um. Yeah. I mean, kind of. Well, and then like there were other like when I first started like writing the Shadows of Deception saga, like AI was like a science fiction
Mm-hmm.
concept mostly, right? Like it was still like way out there, like nobody in the military would have been using like supercomputers like
Mm-hmm.
AI, and now like I think like Jack Carr was like one of the first ones to like, really
Mm-hmm.
kind of like bring that more. Which I mean, we've talked about that. I His series is kind of it's definitely changed, and
Yeah, I'm thinking about going back and giving Red Sky Morning another chance. I think I just was automatically just like, what is this? I think I gotta buckle down and do it. But his Vietnam one coming out, I'm actually excited for that.
that one I'm excited about too. I'm a little I'm a little disappointed though because it was supposed to come out this month, and
Mm-hmm.
then I think it got moved to October,
Yeah, it
and
did.
I'm
Because I
like,
remember at my work, people already had their pre-orders in, and then they came in that day, and they were like, I'm sorry, he pushed it back. We didn't even get it yet."
yeah, that's and I'm always curious as to like why that's the case.
That's the thing, because I don't know what else came out this month. Because I know it's kind of similar to like how like okay, we're gonna release this movie this month. We don't have to compete with this Marvel movie, kind of deal, right? And like the stuff that came out this month was mostly just sci-fi fantasy. Jack would have had it in the bag.
Yeah. Well, but who knows? It might have been like, grammar,
Yeah,
like stuff like that. But
yeah.
you never know. That's always like the one advantage of being like an indie author is if someone pushes their work back, like I can usually just like ask them like, hey, why'd you push it back or something like that.
Yeah, yeah. We
So
don't have to like go through his agent. You don't have to go through my agents to talk to me through Instagram DMs.
not yet. I mean,
Yeah, not
you
yet.
know, the Whitfield report is getting pretty successful, so pretty soon I might need like a booking.
Yeah,
Uh, nah, just kidding. I mean, at least you guys have my direct access line,
yeah,
so
yeah.
but
Yeah.
speaking of fan fiction, I I I actually didn't want to talk to you about this too, but you know, I haven't done a podcast on this yet, so this might be a good time to kind of broach the subject. But
Yeah, let's do it.
Ian Fleming Publications, they did our boy Rowan
Oh my god.
dirty.
Yeah.
So for those who don't know, Jake and I both we used to follow an account that used to go by the name of Bond Inspiration, and he would publish I don't know, and I don't know the guy's full name, but I know Rowan is his first name, and he basically wrote like a serialized like Bond, basically like fan fiction that was. It was like a direct adaptation of any of Ian Fleming's material, but it was kind of like basically a serialized like inspired novel,
Yeah.
right? Hence
Yeah.
the term
Yeah.
Bond
Each, yeah.
Inspiration.
Yeah. Each post was a chapter in this, and there were like pictures that went along with it on the Instagram post. Like when I first saw the Bond Inspirations page, I was like, okay, this has potential. And then after like the first couple, I was hooked because I don't know if you've
Yeah,
read the most recent James Bond books. James Bond books coming out by Kim Sherwood, they're garbage. So I thought we were screwed. And then this guy comes out of an Instagram post that's 10 times better than anything IFP can put out.
yeah, yeah. I mean, he writes good fiction, and then I guess Ian Fleming like wrote like they they wrote like a cease and desist. And I mean, he's English, and I guess like the copyright system over there is
Yeah,
different from ours.
because I brought it up to one of my coworkers who's big in the fan fiction, right? And I didn't know Rowan was not American. I figured he wasn't, but I didn't know. Excuse me, the laws were that different over there. But even they were just like, yeah, this doesn't. Is he making money off it? And I go, I don't think so. So like, it was free game. But I guess in the UK, it's a little bit different.
Yeah, well, the thing that's wild though too uh is like now I guess Ian Fleming Publications is doing like a serialized like Felix Leiter story.
Yeah, and but Raymond Benson came back for it.
And it's good actually. I will say this, at least like the first chapter seems to be good, but like I don't really see like how, because I don't think Rowan's story like even touched Felix Leiter. So
It did to like towards the end of the New York one. It did a little bit, but the thing is that I feel so bad for him for is once they sent this letter, he had to go through every single post and change every single name. I'm like, Rowan, this is so bad.
which on Instagram, like that, like kudos to him for like going through and doing that, because like editing posts on Instagram, at least on your phone, is a major like pain.
Yeah,
That's
yeah, but
also like one of my gripes with like Instagram just in general, is I wish they made it easier to use on desktop too.
mhm.
Mainly so that like editing like podcast clips on there would be easier for the show Instagram as well.
But
So
the good thing I would say out of him getting a cease and desist letter from his Ian Fleming's publications was he made up a new name for his spy character, Nathan Rock, I believe it is. And hopefully, I hope my same tactic with him's gonna work with like I did with Nathaniel, where I just bothered Nathaniel to the point where he just made a Nate Colt book. Because with this character in there, I think Rowan would absolutely kill it if he got the post together and published it under this new character's name.
I I've said this for a while, and like I understand why people like to write fan fiction with like already existing characters. Like I do, but honestly, like I do think writing original characters is better in general, even if your original character is like heavily based off of
Mm-hmm.
an already existing character. I mean, and anymore, that's kind of always the case. You're going to have like there are just too many characters like out there in pop culture to like have a truly original character. Like you're always going to be basing someone off of someone else
Yeah.
to a certain extent. But
Yeah.
like the thing with original characters is there is if you have a solid foundation, once you really know who your original character is, they're pretty easy to write once you kind of have like a general kind of feeling for them. And
Mm-hmm.
also you can do what you want with them.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like you're not going to be facing like a lot of unless you get like picked up by a publisher, like they're not going to be limiting. You're not going to be getting like other people like trying to say that you're infringing on something.
Yeah. Yeah.
So there's a lot more leeway
Yes.
um for original characters. So
Yes.
I don't know. It'll be interesting to talk to him more about that, and
Mm-hmm.
I just hope that I wish him the best of luck, and I
Oh
hope
yeah.
that uh
I
you
mean,
know
he doesn't seem to be stopping at all. I still have to read the recent one. He's starting this whole new story now, continuing off from everything else. So he's definitely not slowed down, which I'm fight it, man. Which I'm 100% for because I honestly think IFP was scared, honestly, because this guy on Instagram was putting out better Bond content than all the money they've thrown at the wall.
well Ian Fleming Publications and just the whole Bond franchise in general is I mean 007 is kind of like in a really weird place right now,
Yeah.
and I feel like anytime I bring up James Bond, whether it be with you or Terrence, like we always get into this conversation. But like Amazon, it'll be interesting to see where they go
Yep.
with you know the franchise as far as like movies go. It's still unclear as to like whether or not Amazon owns the book rights too. That's kind of
Well, they
that's kind
used
of
to. They used to. That's when like if you ever see the new ones of like the ones with the ugly all white covers, that was them. I think IFP got them back because the ones we sell in my store are totally different than that.
yeah, that's interesting.
Because I
Um,
remember getting like whenever I was a kid, my mom took me to the Spy Museum in DC, and that was the only place like that had the Ian Fleming books like there. Because that for the longest time you had to get them from Amazon. And those ones weren't censored like the new ones are. The new ones are, especially Live and Let Die.
yeah, I mean, and look, Live and Let Die. I know that there is some like
There's a lot. Yeah, there's a lot.
well, I know there's some controversial stuff, but like I kind of wish they would let it, that they would kind of leave it unedited because
Mm-hmm.
it's kind of like yeah, there's some controversial stuff, but at the same time, that's how people
Yeah,
viewed things back then, and
yeah, yeah,
I don't think we should censor like even necessarily the bad, parts
yeah.
of
I
history.
100% agree with that because it's changing the Ian Fleming's already rolling in his grave right now. But
Yeah, well, and then and then I actually like I just bought the newest Ian Fleming biography, but while I was in New York City, I also purchased the first Ian Fleming biography that was written in 1995.
mm,
It's interesting to kind of have the old, version and the new version. So I'm kind of curious if there are any real differences.
cool,
So
that's awesome. Yeah, but Ian Fleming was a master. Rowan was just honoring him, and his publication just shot it down. It's a
yeah.
fucking shame.
Well, maybe Rowan needs to, go to Jamaica for a while and take like a
Yeah,
sabbatical.
yeah,
So,
yeah.
um, maybe he'll take up chain smoking, like Ian Fleming did. So
Yeah, yeah.
um, but anyway, well, as far as like you have the Road to Merc Wars stuff.
Mhm.
What else is kind of in, anything else that you have kind of planned out?
The Homecoming trailer will be on YouTube hopefully in a month or so. I know it's been longer than all we've been saying, and it keeps getting stuff back, but we all have jobs. It's not a priority because none of us are getting really paid to do it. But that's coming out soon, and if it does well, who knows? There could be more live action Chris Folley stuff in the future. I'm trying to work with. I don't want to say a lot, but I'm a lot about this. But I'm working on another like kind of Folly-ish project with another author we both know. But besides that, Merc War is basically my focus right now. And
Yeah.
Chris Folley is. I love writing him. I love writing the other characters. Unless I get like a major idea for something else, I'm gonna focus on Folly for now.
Yeah. Have you ever like thought about like writing a completely like different series or like
Mm-hmm.
writing?
Yeah, I've always had the urge to write a because I touch on horror in The Real Monster, and I always want to write my own thing. It's just horror is a pain in the ass to like think of an original idea that hasn't been touched on before, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, it really is.
Yeah,
So yeah, like same with sci-fi. Like I,
yeah,
I have a few like sci-fi like space opera
hmm
things that I'm like, that have kind of been rolling around in my head, but then like I start writing them and I'm like, this is just Star Wars, basically.
yeah. And the same thing. Like I have drafts in my computer for horror stuff, and I'm looking through them. I'm just like, okay, so this is that. This is too close to this. This is too similar to what what's his face just put out. I just don't want to end up stepping on people's toes with like, and the same
Yeah.
thing could be said for like the political action, men's adventure fiction stuff that you and I do, right? It's like, oh, Jake is trying to make Chris Foley Jack Carr or James
Yeah.
Reese or Sam's trying to become the next James Bond. It's there's too much overlap overall. You're gonna face it no matter where you go.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, that's true. It doesn't bother me like as much as it used to be because like I pretty much said that like yeah, John Ryder is kind of like my American tribute to James Bond, but
Yeah,
like and I do think that there are some there is some influence, but there is also as time goes on, like I've developed the character like to have more originality
yeah,
as well. So
yeah. It doesn't
and
bother me either. I just know that there's some out there that are gonna read like Homecoming. Oh, he has a tomahawk. He's a James Reese wannabe. That type.
yeah, well that that's the whole thing of like you're never going to please everyone.
Everybody.
Like even in the podcasting sphere, like people are like, oh well, your podcast is just like a Joe Rogan. Never mind the fact that that I've actually been podcasting as long as
Mm-hmm.
Joe has.
Yeah.
I just don't have, the exposure
Yeah.
that he does. So it's all relative. But
Yeah.
anyway, anything you'd like to plug or promote or shout
Yeah.
out?
My if you like hard hitting action similar to like the original Mac Bolan stuff, Chris Folley series is for you. Book one is Homecoming, and the list is all down there. I will say that although like my short stories, let me get them. Odd Job and Yinzer and Philly aren't listed in the main timeline. They are canon, and their events are spoken of, so don't miss out on those. Plug my boys at BCU Media. Follow us on YouTube and Instagram, and their logo is on all the new stuff now as well. And I think that came out pretty clean too.
That's awesome. Yeah, I'm like, yeah, that's another thing I'm doing is like getting all the American Instinct
Yeah,
stuff on my
yeah, because it's a whole
books.
effort. Because Noah's BCU, I'm BCU, so like screw it, put it on the book. It's right there. But
So
besides that, yeah, follow me on Instagram at Jake Widmer author. If you message me, I'll probably get back to you at some point. But yeah, man, I had a blast being on here again. Thanks for having me.
Oh, anytime, man. I always appreciate having you on, and we do need. I don't know when this is going to happen. But we do need to definitely get like a roundtable of authors,
Yeah,
on here
yeah,
at some point. I feel like one of the things that people would kind of benefit from, just in general, is kind of like seeing how authors kind of work together and collaborate on
mm-hmm,
things.
yep.
That's definitely an idea that I've had, down the line.
Yeah, man. If you want to do it, man, I'm down for it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but anyway, folks, we hope you enjoyed today's episode, and I'll, as always, have all of Jake's stuff, linked down below. And for those asking, I do not, I don't have a website for my books yet, personally, but I will. I'm working on a website. That's another thing, is web hosting is really expensive these days. So, you know, I'm not I'm not sure it would be worth it to actually like start a website on its own, but I'll definitely I'll link everyone's stuff in the comments, and really appreciate everyone who supports Jake's work and my work alike. And we it's always good to talk to Jake and the rest of the men's adventure fiction crew. And check us out on in the Right to Offend Media Discord, and on the Men's Adventure Fiction Discord as well. So thanks everyone for tuning in, and I'll see you guys live on the Wednesday show. Peace.
Peace.
The right to offend is not some pesky little part of freedom of speech that we have to put up with. It is the heart and soul and lungs of freedom of speech. It is the coursing lifeblood of human progress. It is the instigator of liberty and modernity and science and understanding. What a laughing stock today's student leaders are, that they can so casually dismiss the right to be offensive without realizing that their lovely, enlightened lives are the gift of individuals who gave offense. Offensiveness is not just something we have to begrudgingly accept. Offensiveness is the motor of human progress.
Thank you for watching the Whitfield Report live on the Right to Offend Media Network. Make sure to check out Sam's books on Amazon, Audible, and Kindle. You can follow Sam on X at SamW_NGC and the Right to Offend Media Network at RTO Media. Like, comment, subscribe, and share with your friends. And until next time, God bless, God save this great nation. God, freedom, legacy, in that order.